I mean, I don't really think it's a problem because now that the types of people that I'm interacting with really know what they're doing, which is awesome. I mean, some days I wish that I had a law degree or a business degree because it probably would help me a lot better. But yeah, I feel like now when I'm bringing a project, like let's say I'm going to a bigger production company or a distributor or a streamer, like I've built the creative with the director, the creator of the show, whatever, to get it to a point to be able to pitch it. So when I'm taking it to that other place, well, now it's kind of what's their job, what's their, what can they bring to the table as well. So if they are a company that, was founded by a lawyer and I'm dealing with the lawyer who now runs the company, well, they have the logistic insight that I don't really have,
Okay.
So I feel like, I have a certain amount now based on experience. But yeah, I'm not really as intimidated. I'm like, okay, how do you see this working? And if how they see it working makes sense to me, or it's also how I thought it was working, then it's probably going to be a good relationship.
I see.
Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that you are answering it.
I didn't know.
Because do these people ever inhibit what you're attempting to do based on their own desires and their own needs?
I don't know if it's necessarily their own desires and own needs, but I had a project with my friend Patrick Maloney, who I love. He's an awesome filmmaker and creator as well. And our show was optioned at a very big company, and we were super stoked. And we're like, oh my God, this is it. And we were there for a year, and they just never got us. And that was really hard because we had a great pitch meeting and we were like, oh my God, we're on the same page. Like we want to go to, X, Y, and Z. Like this is where we could see this being and we could see this living here. And they're like, yes, totally. They optioned us. We were really excited. And then they slowly started trying to change absolutely everything that our show was.
Which is interesting. You have to question why.
Yeah.
What attracted you to this project in the beginning?
Mm-hmm. It's really hard. And I think like now I really try and think about, okay, who do I like as people? Who do I want to work with? And I often find that influences my decision. So, we still have really great positive relationships with that company and the people who work at it. But it was really hard. Like, why did you pick us? Why did you take a year, over a year for the show where we could have taken it to somewhere else, And now him and I have a new show that we're figuring out the agreement at another company, but we're kind of like, oh, maybe that old show could also be a fit for this company, So it's really hard. I don't know why. I think that I know for me, there's been times where I'm like, oh, I really like this. I have no idea how it's going to work. And I really like this creative. So maybe I could option it. But instead of like letting it sit and not go anywhere, I try and, throw the spaghetti at the wall and figure out a plan. And if it doesn't work, release them from the option. Because I think that's where the filmmaker thing comes in. Because I'm a filmmaker first and foremost as well and a performer. So when I deal with other creatives, I'm like, oh, I don't want to be in the situation like that. So, I can let go of the option or at least give you an opportunity to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So did you learn anything through the process?
Through that first process?
Yeah. Other than, of course. Okay.
Yeah. I learned that I don't ever want to not be in the room pitching my own stuff. Like I don't want to give away all of my rights to somebody else to pitch on my behalf.
Okay.
I think that was a big thing for me. And I think not
just don't care about it as much.
I don't know if they just don't care about it as much or they just don't know as much.
They don't have the passion and the heart that you have to tell your story.
Totally. So it's like...
like for them, it's just they're...
It's business. That's
right. And they may just be reciting by rote what they've learned about your story.
Totally.
But they're not getting this.
Yeah,
No.
their end game is the what's coming back.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah, and someone you get asked questions in pitches all the time, like, oh, well, what do you think about this character, doing this or that, and they're a yes guy because they want the project to get money and get made.
Right.
So there's been,
that's interesting.
We had a situation where we, they went in to pitch for us, and they got asked all these questions. They're like, yeah, we totally see this happening and being possible, and we're like, no. Like, not at all. Like, do you not get us? Like, that's the complete opposite of what we wanted, And I think that's it was just a really unfortunate situation, but a great learning experience in the end because, we still have our show. We didn't give away our rights. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, even when I option for creatives, and I'm sure there's other people that might listen to this and be like, what do you mean? But I don't ever take the rights away from the creative. Like, that's insane. That's not mine. I didn't think about it. So why should I own that?
Right.
If I contribute, substantially, then yeah, maybe I'm a co-creator and but to take someone else's IP as my, like, no.
Yeah, but there are companies out there,
Who do that.
yes, some streaming services where
Totally.
they're going to purchase your IP.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard where some advice to filmmakers is that in the event that you do pitch to one of these services and they want to buy the IP,
Yeah,
and you're a creative guy, you come up with more stuff.
Totally.
Sell it.
yeah,
And that gets you in that door.
totally.
And then later you can negotiate that
Yeah.
you're not going to sell your IP.
But that's a different situation, Like, I'm sure we've all thought of projects that we're like, oh, this is great. I just want to sell this. Like, I'll just sell this.
Right.
I don't have to make it,
Right.
but someone else should. That's great. Like, I've had so many of those, and I've sold projects, which is great. And that's also helped with funding different other projects that I am passionate about. But IP is such a tricky game,